Gentlelady's time has expired. Ms. Crockett's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really know where to begin. So we're going to start with a few questions. I got a little quiz for y'all. So we've been talking about the right to vote. I just need a yes or no from each of the witnesses, and we'll start with Ms. Weiser. Is voting a constitutionally protected federal right?
Yes, it's constitutionally protected through multiple provisions.
Okay. Ms. Evans, yes or no?
Yes.
Mr. Spies, yes or no?
Yes.
And Mr. Cucciolini, yes or no?
It is constitutionally protected.
Okay, thank you. We've heard a lot of talk today about things such as buying alcohol. Ms. Weiser, is alcohol a federally protected constitutional right?
It is not.
Ms. Evans?
It is not.
Mr. Spies?
No.
Mr. Cucciolini?
Cuccinelli, you need an ID to buy it, but no.
Okay, all right. And finally, we like to talk about guns, or at least some people in this building love to talk about guns. Guns, is there an amendment dealing with guns in our federal constitution?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Spies?
Spies, yes.
Spies. And yes, sir.
Yes, there is, and you need an ID to buy it.
Okay, so let's talk about it. So I hail from the great state of Texas, and what's interesting to me is we always want to talk about privileges and compare what is required for a privilege versus comparing what is required for a constitutionally protected right under our federal constitution. And it's interesting that in this chamber, we love to talk about the Second Amendment, and we want to make sure that everyone has guns, and we only have one amendment in our Constitution that deals with guns, and it's the Second Amendment. And Professor Weiser, you were just about to say we have multiple provisions, so you were messing up my test a little bit. So I'm not going to let you answer the question. I'm going to go down here to these experts. Let's start and go the other way. Do we know how many amendments actually address voting in our Constitution?
Well, it depends how you count them, but you could say 3, 5th,
Okay.
14th, 15th.
Okay. Mr. Spees?
Plus the D.C. amendments.
And maybe first.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Okay, Professor, go ahead and break it down.
I believe it's 6.
There we go. There we go. So we got the 14th, we got the 15th, 17th. Wait a minute, did I mess up? 19th, 24th, and 26th. There we go. All right, so we have 6 amendments.
23rd.
And 20.
And every time we dealt with an amendment dealing with voting, we were expanding upon access. Is that not correct?
That is correct. That is the history of this country. Expanding
Okay.
access.
The history is to expand, but obviously there are some folk that want to rewrite history and make sure we go back in time. So let's also talk a little bit more about history for a couple of seconds. There was this little thing called the Voting Rights Act. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
Are you also familiar with this thing called Bloody Sunday?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so are you familiar with the fact that there are black folk that died in this country to make sure that black folk had access to the ballot box?
Yes, that is correct.
Are you also familiar with the fact that probably around 1913 or sometime around there was maybe a women's suffrage march?
Yes, yes.
And that was a fight, again, for women to have access to the ballot box, was it not?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so we have had throughout history these fights to make sure that everyone is accessing the ballot box, but seemingly when it comes down to, say, guns in this country, which are the #1 killer of children in this country, we haven't had half as many hearings about guns as we've had on voting rights. And every time we seemingly have a hearing on voting rights, we talking about the fact that people are cheating. So let's talk about who's cheating. I got a few articles. Are you familiar with the fact that there was recently a settlement with this little news company called Fox News?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was for about $780-something million. Was it because they were lying about the elections?
Yes, it was for a.
Okay, there we go. I'm running out of time, so I'm gonna keep going. There also was this article, because I don't want us to base anything on Georgia at all. Please, Jesus, not Georgia. Okay, because Georgia purged 87,000.
Will the gentlewoman yield? I think Georgia matters.
I will not yield. I am reclaiming my time. All right, so there were 87,000 people that were purged that were legitimate voters. So no, we don't want to copy off of Georgia. Also, another GOP voter admits he committed fraud. Another one in Pennsylvania, man who admits he voted for Trump with his dead mom's name because he listened to too much propaganda.
The gentlelady's time has expired. The gentlelady from the state of Georgia, Ms. Greene, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to remind everyone that Georgia's votes matter, and everyone should care about each state in the United States of America and voter rights. And I would also like to remind everyone that in order to buy a gun, you have to have a valid ID. That's required, just like voters should have a valid ID. Talking about the state of Georgia in the 2020 election, my ex-husband showed up to vote for President Trump, myself, and other candidates that he wanted to support. And when he showed up to vote, he was told that he had already voted by absentee ballot. And he said, no, that's not true. I haven't voted by absentee ballot. As a matter of fact, I didn't even request an absentee ballot. And they said, well, Mr. Greene, it shows right here on the Secretary of State website that you've already voted by absentee ballot. And he said, well, that's not true. I haven't voted. I would like to vote here in person. That's what I'm doing. And so they made him sign a form surrendering a ballot that he never requested and never voted on so that he could vote in person. And he was deeply troubled by this. He was upset by it. But what bothered him even more is there was a whole line of voters there that day that were doing the same thing. We carried on, and he had to go through quite a lengthy legal process to find out what happened, and he still hasn't found out why someone was able to vote with an absentee ballot in his name. He also never found out what happened to that absentee ballot, if it was thrown out, and who they voted for. You see, there are problems in our elections, and it's important to remember. We saw many of them in the 2020 election. We saw suitcases pulled out from tables, suitcases of ballots. And then here we just saw in the news that a Postal Service releases final report. Contract driver Jesse Morgan vindicated because he had been trying to say that he hauled a trailer of ballots from New York to Pennsylvania in late October 2020. These things matter. And Democrats know they matter too, because in 2019, Democrat Senators Klobuchar, Warner, Reed, and Peters had all wrote a letter of how concerned they were because intelligence agents were saying that elections were in danger of being hacked by foreign nationals or foreign countries because election machines could be hacked. Now, I think that's problematic, and I think everyone can agree that we don't want foreign countries or foreigners meddling in our elections. And so my question would be, if this is such a deep concern, Ms. Weiser, Ms. Evans, Mr. Spies, Mr. Cuccinelli, one by one, could you say yes or no if you agree that we don't want foreign actors meddling in our elections? Ms. Weiser, let me start with you.
That is correct. We don't want foreign actors meddling in our elections.
As Director of DC Board of Elections, I make no opinion statements.
That's a yes or no, Ms. Evans.
I provide no opinions in my role as the Executive Director of the District of Columbia.
So you're unable to have it. How do you do your job if you can't give an opinion or an answer? Seems like you'd be unfit to serve in the job that you have if you're unable to provide a yes or no answer on foreign actors meddling in United States elections.
My job is to administer the laws as they've been provided in the District of Columbia, and I perform my job with integrity, and I know my job well, and that is my responsibility.
So you're unable to say no, so we'll take that as a yes. You agree with foreign actors meddling in United States elections. Mr. Spies?
Strongly oppose it.
Mr. Cuccinelli?
Also oppose it, including non-citizens voting.
I agree. The House passed a resolution of disapproval with 42 Democrats voting with Republicans about the D.C. law that was passed last year called Local Residents Voting Rights Amendment Act. Local, you would think that would be United States of American residents, not non-citizens. But that allows here, this law passed that you obviously support foreigners meddling in our elections, is foreign diplomats, people that work at embassies, illegals, and foreign nationals allowed to vote in the District of Columbia elections. So you can tell that Democrats disagree with this because 42 Dems voted against it. Democrat senators, again, 4 of them wrote a letter very concerned about foreign countries, and our intelligence agencies are concerned about this. And you know what? Most Americans are. And that is a very serious problem. With that, my time has expired, and I'll yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady yields back.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman's recognized for the point of order.
Thank you. If a witness declines to answer a question on the grounds that he or she cannot answer the question, is it appropriate to state for the record that the answer is yes? Because I would like to correct the record, because I think that cuts against everything we understand about the dynamics of hearings.
The ranking member's comments are noted. The gentlewoman's comments stand on the record.
Okay, and the witness's comments will stand on their own.
The witness is more than welcome to provide additional commentary in writing following the conclusion of the hearing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No further parliamentary inquiries. The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 5 minutes. Mr. Timmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, one of the bedrock principles of functioning democracy is confidence in the outcome of our elections. And obviously, with COVID came a number of changes to state election laws that were done so in violation of the Constitution. So I guess I want to start by asking Ms. Evans, were changes made